Okay, we are on the air.
Welcome everybody to Saturdays with Tara. I'm Mary Beth at the Law of Attraction Club, on the web at theloaclub.com. If you have a question or a comment, please unmute yourself, or you can chat in the type window to the right of your screen, in the chat window to the right of your screen. So Robin will be bringing through Tara for us this morning. So welcome to Tara and welcome to Robin. Over to you guys.
And welcome to you all. Here we are intersecting once again, and it is a great joy for us to be in this game with you, participating with you, intersecting with you. And today we're talking about questions and answers. And it is important to understand those questions that we can help you with answers to. And it is important to understand those questions which you and you alone have the answer to. And so we will talk about the difference there today. It's an important difference, and once you understand it, as we say, you start to know who you are. And that is important, because it helps you to understand then the way in which you can change the things that you want to change. For many in this one's world, the problem is not that the law of attraction is overstated or overblown, as some people would say. It is that it is understated. It is not recognized the degree to which it is fundamental. We talked of this at some length 2 weeks ago when we talked about the fact that there is really no law of attraction. It is just a fundamental part of who you are. And we're going to repeat here the definition or the description of the law of attraction that we talked about back then, because it is perhaps a good way of understanding it. You cannot really understand the law of attraction until you can step back from a one world view and start to recognize the degree to which all of your worlds are unique. You are not a tiny speck in a huge world. You are the creator of everything you experience. And as you choose new beliefs, you step into a new version of you, and a matching world wraps itself around you. You are actually intersecting with the versions of people and things you attract. What looks like one shared world is actually a collage of those intersections, but it is your world, unique to you. And those words are a pretty good description of the way things are, of the way in which you create everything in your experience. So let's next ask you a question. Do you consider yourself normal? And what would that mean? What does being normal mean? Does that mean you are like most people? Well, as always, of course, we ask you to think of this question in relation to you creating everything around you. In a sense, it doesn't matter what the world is like around you. If you consider yourself to be like most people, if you believe that you are, then that is the world you are creating. So you can't look at the way most people behave and say, I'm pretty much like that, so I'm pretty normal. You can look at the way most people behave and say, that is what I am creating. And if you are creating it to match up with you, then of course, by definition, those people are normal and you are normal. But we want you to recognize that in reality, there's no such thing as normal. There's only what you're creating. In this one's world, there are some stories about supernatural things. We love that word supernatural because, in fact, There is nothing that's supernatural, or rather everything is supernatural. But in these stories, a shapeshifter is something, some entity that can move between forms. It can be human in 1 minute and it can be a dog in the next, or an eagle in the next. It is a being that has the capability of changing its shape and appearance and capabilities. So are you a shapeshifter? And we would say, yes, you are, in every sense of the word. You have the ability to do, be, or have anything. So could you be one of these shapeshifters? And the answer is yes. And now the question is, would that make you normal or abnormal? And of course, then the question comes, in the world that you are creating, can everybody shapeshift? In which case, if you're a shapeshifter, you're normal. And of course, we're pulling at you a little here, but we want you to understand the degree to which you are creating your world. What's normal in your world is what you have decreed is normal in your world. And there's nothing normal really about it at all, except that this is the way you are creating it. And so we'll get into some more of this as we proceed today. And so let us move on here. Because there is just no answer to some of your questions. And we'll talk about the questions we can answer all day, about who you are, why you're here, and how you can create new things in your life. But when you ask us about the nature of the world you're in right now, when you ask us about the physical you, when you ask us about the future, we say, you tell us, because these questions are not answerable except by you. So let's explore that a little, and then we'll move on to how to make changes, create more of what you want in your life. And here's some of the examples of the questions that we cannot answer and the questions that, in fact, we have been asked. What should I say to this person who is messing up my world, or potentially messing up my world? Should I quit my job and do something this, do this or that? Which of these options should I choose? Is there a soulmate for me in the world, and when will I find them? What's my true purpose here in this existence? And this is a question that was asked very recently. What are dreams and what do they tell us? Should I find a new partner? How important is it for me to meditate or anything? How can we bring about peace on earth? Do I have a guardian angel? Are those being born today wired specially? Are they those what we would have heard this one referred to as indigo children? You see, all of those questions can only be answered from your perspective. We cannot answer them from any other perspective, because it is simply that you're the one that is telling the story. And so we have to say, you tell us. You tell us what it is that you are inventing, creating, making up, and then we can answer your question. It's a movie called Your Life on Earth, and you are writing the screenplay for this, you see. So what's real and what isn't? Well, you could say that a movie isn't real. Yes, of course, it's an illusion. And yet if it's a good movie, it has the capacity, does it not, to draw you in and experience the story with the characters that are on the screen. It really sucks you in. In fact, sometimes it sucks you in so much, and it so puts you on the edge of your seat so much you want to shut your eyes and try and regain normalcy again, your reality, your so-called physical reality, and therefore be less on edge or less scared or less engaged. Your life on earth is similar. It's similar to that movie you've seen. It's an illusion. A very good one, we might add, because it draws you in, does it not? It engages you so much you get mesmerized by it and you forget who you are. You say things like, this is just a movie, but life is real. Well, we promise you this movie that is your story is every bit as much an illusion as those other movies you've seen. Ultimately, the only thing that's real is your experience of all of this. Is your experience that is real. So let's look at your senses. Touch, taste, sight, smell, hearing. Perhaps you see them as the physical apparatus you have which enables you to perceive the world around you, engage with it, navigate around in it. Let's talk about sight, for example, where the story is perhaps that light reflects off of objects, travels to your eye, and gets focused onto your retina. Then your nerves react and send a signal to your brain, and your brain makes sense of all of that, forms an image, and you can see then everything around you. You are receiving data, processing it, and determining the shape of your surroundings. But that's just the story, it's just part of the story. If all that physicality is an illusion, so where is this illusion being created? Well, here's another way of looking at it. And if you can get this, if you can picture this, you'll be really close to understanding what's going on here. Think of your sight as being like the projector of this movie, your movie, onto the screen of your mind. Your senses are showing you the reality you've created by your habits of thought. You have a tapestry of well-practiced beliefs, and from those come your expectations about everything, everybody, all the things in your world. This is your story. This is the movie you are in. And as you make new belief choices, which you can do at any time about anything, you step into a new version of you. And by law of attraction, the movie changes to match the new you. So what we're saying here is step back from seeing your senses as the way in which you perceive the world and understand that they are really projecting onto your mind this so-called reality, the movie, the picture that surrounds you. And when you get that, when you understand that, you'll begin to sense the true nature of this world that you are in. You're writing the screenplay for this movie. You're also the director and the leading actor. Then there's all those other actors in your movie. Those close to you are the stars. They have the leading roles. Then there are those with supporting roles. Perhaps there are well-known people who have cameo roles who appear shortly and briefly in your movie. Then there are all those extras, the people you pass on the street, the people you see on your televisions. From your perspective, these people are all actors in your movie, and these physical surroundings are all the props in your movie, or the scenes in which the movie is being shown, filmed. Of course, from these other actors in your movie, if you go to their perspective, you're an actor in their movie. In one version or another of you, you are following their screenplay. But right now, we're looking at your life and your movie. And so we are looking at this from your perspective. Behind the scenes in this movie, there's your casting director and your props manager and all the stagehands and everybody, actors and staff included, are faithfully following your screenplay and your direction. Of course, your actors may have the lines and they may surprise you a little from time to time. But it will always be within the boundaries you have set and in line with the choices you have made. And as you make new choices, it's a new day and a new version of the movie. Everybody adjusts. Your props manager is running around changing the props. Perhaps your casting director is running around changing the characters. Some actors change characters, some actors leave, new actors arrive. Sometimes the scene is changed completely. But it's all your story. Movies, as the name suggests, give the appearance of things in motion. But they're comprised of a series of still pictures called frames, viewed in quick succession. And that gives the appearance of fluidity, of motion. And you can think of your movie as having frames, a series of now movements, a series of now moments, a series of now things are the frames in your movie. In each frame are the versions of everyone and everything that are a match to you. Each frame is like a completed jigsaw puzzle, and in it are the people that are a match to you. So think of that. Each frame of your movie is like a jigsaw puzzle, and you are the central piece there, you see. Are you beginning to see why we cannot answer these questions about your movie? You see, you are creating it all. It's not happening out there in some shared world in which you participate, in which you put up with, in which you seek to thrive in, survive in. It's all internal to you. As we have said many times, it's all an inside job. It's all going on in your mind, if you like to think of it that way. If you have decided that something is impossible, it will not exist. If you have decided that something is possible but improbable, then it's going to happen occasionally, but not very often. If you've decided something is probable, then it will happen most of the time. And of course, you have a whole lot of certainties in this thing, in this movie of yours, in this tapestry of yours, in this chosen pattern of beliefs, things you just plain know. Like when you woke up this morning, the floor, the bed, the walls, time, gravity, they were all there because you knew they would be. It was beyond certainty. It was to just knowing. And they were all there because you knew that. You knew they would be. And so you're beginning to see also why it can really help to know all of this. This is your movie. And as long as you're looking outside of you for answers about what you yourself are creating, you are failing to recognize the extent to which you're in charge. Now that sentence is perhaps the most significant sentence that we might say here at this point. Can you see that? This is your movie. And as long as you're looking outside of yourself for answers about what you are creating, you are failing to see, to understand, to really comprehend the degree to which you are in charge. Now, what you don't know about something is not knowable because it does not exist. And you might think, well, that's not true because there's so much about this world that I know exists out there, but I don't know the details of it. And we say, until you know the details of it, there are no details of it. You may think you continue to discover things about your world, but in truth, you were just filling in some of the details in that tapestry of possibilities. If you like, you have a colouring book, and now you're starting to put some more detail into it. You are starting to fill in the colours. When you read, studies have shown this or shown that. Or you hear some person or entity giving you information to the extent that you choose to believe it. You are simply colouring in some more probables or possibles or certainties. But it is you that is doing that. So, how's this movie of yours turning out? Is it an adventure? Is it fun to be in? These would be our questions to you. You are in charge. And if there's anything you desire, anything at all, you can have it. If you wish to be a shapeshifter, if you wish to be able to transform yourself into an eagle and fly where you might, you can have it. You can do it. Would that be normal? Perhaps. If you choose to say, I'm something special and I can do this, then it would not be. Or you may step into a version of the world in which that is totally normal. You might step into a version of the world in which everyone channels. You all do to some extent, as we've discussed last week in any case. You all do. It's that conversation, that connection, that merging of you with the greater you and all that is. It is simply looking at that a little differently. So if there's anything you desire, anything at all, you can have it. Simply a matter of adding it to your screenplay, to the tapestry of your chosen beliefs. So, right at this moment, no matter where you are, think of all the puzzle pieces that make up the now frame of your movie. You see, it's like your life is like this movie. It is a series of now moments, the frames of your movie. And that's why now is so special, you see. All of your power is in your now, because now is the only time that you can make a decision. Now and now and now. So what are in the frames of your movie right now? And what are in the frames of your movie, we promise you, are a match to the you that is in that movie, in that frame. Everything in that frame is a match to you. Those decisions are about you, you see. You are the centerpiece. All of those matching pieces start from the shape of you. You change your shape by what you choose to believe about this thing, that thing, about everything. What shape do you want to be? Because you see, you really are a shapeshifter in every sense of the word. Choose it. Be it. Expect it. Have fun with it. And then, what can be the most fun of all? Watch the new matching pieces fall into place around you. Because as you change your shape, as you make new choices about who you are or what you want or how you want the world to be, then you attract into that frame, into that picture, the matching version of everything that is around you. You attract into that frame everything that matches you. This is how you create. This is why you create. This is you doing what you came here to do. So can you see that the reason that you are here in this illusion, and when we call it an illusion, of course, as we always say, we are not in any way diminishing its value. It is the theatre in which you are. It is the context in which your movie plays out here. It is the story that you are creating, and what a magnificent story it is. And you are here on this leading edge of creation, and by that we mean you are here in this very narrowly focused world in terms of your consciousness. You are here in this, we have used the word this week, let us use it again, You are here in this extreme version of the game. What is normal in this game? What is normal here is up to you. You can have it any way you want it. And the whole point of all of this discussion here, the whole point of all of this is to have you understand that you are in charge. And when you say to us, but how do I do this? Or what is the shape of the world over here? And what is this over here? And should I do this? And we say to you, you tell us. You see, you are giving up your power. You're giving up your understanding of the nature of who you are. And what we are here to do, and the questions that we can answer, of course, are the questions about who you are and how you make those changes. Who you are is a part of the eternal, universal, collective consciousness of all that is. And as you make choices and decisions, and as you have intentions and desires, so you change, and immediately everything around you changes. Everything around you changes. So you can see from all of this why we are saying there really is no law of attraction. It is just an innate part of you, because you and your world, your matching world, are a unit. They are one thing. They must be, because by your intentions and desires you create you, and therefore you create everything else in your scene, everything else in that frame of your movie. And when we use the word extreme, what we are saying here, of course, is that you are right out there in this place. You are in this world that can be so mesmerizing that you can forget who you are. And so you are, if you like, on the leading edge here, on the bleeding edge here. But this world can be anything you want it to be. You are not limited to anything. You do not have to see it as one world that you share and you have to deal with. And if you want the world to be a different place, you therefore can see that it's not a function of gathering everyone together and agreeing that you will do it this way or the world will be this way. It's a function of you deciding that's the version of the world you want to step into. It's a function of you saying, this is the shape of the central puzzle piece that is me. And when I change that shape, everything changes around me. And so, as we said, can you see that this is an important part of who you are? There's just no answer to questions about your world. And so sometimes we attempt to answer those questions as best we can. But it is really a function of you. It is really you telling us. When you know that, you know who you are. Good. So Mary Beth, we feel that we have talked long enough on this subject, and so if there are any questions, we would be happy to answer them. And we pass the baton back to you.
All right, remember to unmute yourself if you have a question or a comment, or type your question in the chat window to the right of the screen. I love what you said about you and your world are a matching unit. I love that because I've really been having a vision of that. I see it as my world is an extension of my consciousness. The body is just another manifestation in my movie.
Absolutely.
You know, so it doesn't stop at the edge of my body. My consciousness sort of blasts right through it. I could think of the body as a gathering together through my thought of molecules closer together or something, but my consciousness just goes way beyond that, and my world, you know, it's all attached. I
Yes.
like the way you put it, though. You and your world are a matching unit.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that.
Yes, and some, of course, who the one-worlders, as this one calls them, they seek to make sense of the law of attraction in that one-world context. And you will hear many of them saying, the world is moving in this way. We are entering a new age. We are able to now do these things. Our capabilities are expanding. We can now all channel. We can now whatever. Because they are seeking the assurance that there will be others in the same position, and therefore they will be along with the flow. And we say to you and to all of them, of course, there is not one world, it is your world. And if that's the version of the world you wish to step into, then you can step into it now. But what is even more significant is you cannot step into that world unless you take that step yourself. You cannot be swept along by the tide of what others are doing. You can only be swept along by your own creation. And so you cannot participate in a changing world unless you have said, I am stepping into this changing world, you see. And if you make that decision about you and your world, then you're not being swept along by others. You are stepping into a version of the world, and if you like, everything else is being swept along by you, because into that world of yours, you wrap yourself around immediately with matching versions of everybody and everything. So, do you wish to be a shapeshifter? Do you wish to be able to change to be an eagle? You can do that. And you might step into a version of the world in which everyone can do that. And what fun would that be? You see, you can play this game in many ways, in many ways, in many ways. It's all up to you.
So sometimes it sounds as though, and I know we're doing it when we're channeling, we're doing it to make a point. Tara's making a point here, but sometimes it sounds as though, well, you can do it whatever you want. You can create worlds. You can be a shapeshifter. It sounds as though we're promoting some kind of insanity or craziness, in a sense. And actually, we're not just doing it to make a point. For those who have had experiences where they see themselves as that great I am manifesting their reality. Can you say a little bit more about the example of, you could be a shapeshifter or that kind of thing?
Well, you used the word insanity there, Mary Beth.
Right.
In other words, this is so weird that
right.
that you're off the planet, you see, because
right.
what is normal is normal. What is normal is this world that is there, in which
right.
people behave in certain ways. And people don't believe in silly things like shape-shifting. That's the story of fantasy. That's the story of science fiction. That's the story of mythical things, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of us, of course, we are normal. We're sane. We're sensible. And so we don't want to listen to those sorts of things. We want you to talk to us about our world. And we say, we are talking to you about your world. You see, what you have defined by your beliefs there, by what you choose to believe about it, is the world that you are in. But we promise you there's nothing normal about it. There is just what you're creating. And if you wish to create a different version of the world, you can. And so it is all to do with that word normal, is it not? Or sane, or sensible, or logical, or being reasonable about things. Well, if you can get anything from this, we are trying to be unreasonable to some extent. We are trying to turn this on its head. Yes.
Well, and it gets back to this one same old thing. Is it feeling good?
Of course.
Is it feeling good to the person who's experiencing whatever they're experiencing? Are they really stepping into joy? Are they in joy and happiness? Then you can't really argue with that, can you?
Absolutely not, because it matters not what story you have chosen, as you rightly point out, Mary Beth. Does not matter. No one story is better than any other story. It is simply a matter of, what do you want to experience? What are your desires? And as you decide what it is that you want, you will experience things that are in line with that and things that are not in line with that. And as you experience things that are not in line with that, you do not feel good. And as you do not feel good, that is an indicator to you that you are heading away from where you want to be. It is your direction. It is your compass. It is that infallible emotional guidance system that tells you whether you're heading in the right direction or not. And of course, it matters not what story you have chosen. It matters not what illusion, what movie you choose to step into. That is irrelevant. You can choose anything that you like. The important thing is that you can choose it and create it and change it. And that is what you came here to do. That's what you came to play at this game for. To say, I'm going to narrow my focus down to that sort of environment, to that shape, if you will, and I'm going to get involved in that game, and I'm going to create within that game. And this is going to be fun. And that's what you intended it to be.
Kiora, go ahead.
Okay, so first I'll tell you about an experience that I had once. I was on a retreat of the release technique, and we were doing a guided meditation. It was all in my world, of course.
Of course.
And for about half an hour, I was guided with others to let the mind do whatever it wants to do. Let it be, let it think its thoughts, everything, let it be. Don't resist anything. And suddenly, at some point, I saw my mind as a shape, and I saw the thoughts like worms in it, but coming in and out.
Mm-hmm.
But suddenly it expanded and became the world. Kind of whoop, opened up, became the universe. And I knew at that moment that the world comes from my mind, and that I can do anything with it. This was so it kind of confirms what you say. But of course, I would have believed you anyway.
That's perfect, Kiora. I love that image. I had something similar myself. Go ahead, Tara.
Yeah. Cool, but I have that's not the question yet.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
It became like two questions. The first is about how does it really work that the senses, let's say the sight, sense of sight, projects onto my mind the movie that I expect to be. So there's no something outside, right? And there's no something inside too. It's all. Is there any energy that the eyes translate into something, or is it just in a dimension that doesn't belong to our physical world?
In other words, there's nothing out there to sense because you're manifesting it all? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I see a tree,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or I see the computer now. And so, I have an expectation that the computer will be here with all the sounds that it makes and sights and all that. The places of that I who sees and expects, I mean, all those escape me. I don't know where I am. What is there? You know.
Yeah, if I can add to that question, I had something similar. Maybe Tara can answer it all at once. I see the senses as part of the body. So, how does that translate into how are the senses part of consciousness? So, Tara, go for it.
Well, your story, of course, includes a physical you.
Yes.
And you engage with the world around you that you are also creating through those senses. There is no physical world, from a physical perspective. There is no world beyond your senses ever. You can say, but I can look at the television and see the Wimbledon tennis match happening in London. And we say, but you are perceiving that through your senses. And so it is very similar to that in answer to your question, the nature of your story and your creation. Because If you can see a Wimbledon tennis match on your television, but you are many thousands of miles away, you could say, well, how is it that's possible, that is real? And yet you have made up a story about all of that, have you not? You are perceiving this physical world through the senses, and through that you perceive and give context to a world around you. When you go to see a movie and you are looking at a scene in a room, your mind wraps around that story a context. You might see through a window somebody going past in a horse and carriage, and that would immediately tell you that this movie is at a time when there were horses and carriages, and so you automatically create a context for this movie. What you don't know is, if the camera pulled back, that this room that you are looking at is actually 2 or 3 walls on a movie set, and there are cables and lights and everything all around it, you see, and people running around in the background. But you see this narrow vision of the room. You see these people talking in the room, and your mind fills in the context for it all. Well, in the same way, in your movie, your bigger movie, your story, your mind is filling in the context for everything. And in that story, you have made up a detail about sight, for example, about light traveling from things, and you being able to perceive it and interpret it, and therefore know how to fit into this apparition, this world that you are creating.
Oh, I see.
But it is really just a flowing illusion, and it is all happening within you, within your mind, if you will. It is not happening within the physical you. The physical you is a part of this movie.
So the senses are part of the physical you, which are part of the movie.
Absolutely.
There we go. That's what I wanted. Yeah.
I got you. So it can still, in my movie, be the light is reflected and so on.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. I don't have to change anything, just the perspective.
No, absolutely not. And the point of all this, of course, is not to destroy your story, as we always say, right? The point of this is to understand the mechanism by which you are doing this. And when you get that, when you understand that, then you will stop asking questions about some things, and you will bring your questions about, how might I change this better? And with that, on that question, of course, we will dance with you all day. We will say with you things like, imagine what it is that you want. What is it that you want? And ask you to think about those things that you want. Ask you to imagine the world that you want. Ask you to step away from thinking about that which you do not want, and ask you to step into thinking about that which you do want. And it may be as simple as, I would like the weather today to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be as complex as, I would like to create a galaxy. It matters not. It matters not.
So, if I may, I have another question.
You may.
You said maybe many times, but kind of I wasn't sure, and here's my question comes. If I feel good, it means that I'm more in alignment with the things that I want, what I want to experience.
Yes.
In my story.
Yes.
And I thought, and tell me what's right, that if I feel good, it means that I'm in alignment with the huge me, the infinite me.
Well, there's not much difference between those. You can think of your feelings as a compass. If you are feeling good, you are heading in the direction you want to be. You see, you have already put out to the universe a whole stack of decisions you have made about what it is that you want. And you do not, in each moment, go back and review all of those things that you want. You've just said, I want things, I'd like this, I'd like this. You've made a decision about that. And so you have a tapestry of things that you want, and you only reference that tapestry in very small pieces. That most of it stays unreferenced but known. It is just a part of who you are. Now, you can consciously visit each part of that tapestry, each thread in that tapestry, and examine it. But you can't visit each thread in your tapestry because of the nature of your consciousness that you have chosen. You can only visit one piece of the tapestry in detail at any point in time.
Mm.
And so the tapestry exists, you are not focused on it, but if you are doing things, if you are heading in directions that take you away from where you want to be, they're out of alignment with that which you want, then you do not feel good. It's as simple as that. And so if you will turn and head in the direction that you want to go, by whatever techniques and processes best suit you, then you will start to feel good. And you will feel better, and you will feel better and feel better. So you can think of it as direction. If I feel good, I'm heading to where I want to be. And of course, to answer your question in some more depth here, in the detail of your question, Gura, that is exactly in alignment with where your higher self wants you to be. And so you could say, I am heading more in in alignment with my higher self, but that alignment is within the choices you have already made. Your higher self says, you want this, it's over here, come this way. If you are heading in the other direction, you do not feel good. And if you are heading in that direction, things open up for you.
Okay, and this is also true about all the automatic programs in the tapestry that work against what I want.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, you could be operating without conscious choice. And many people spend hours and days, even weeks and years, without exercising much conscious choice about who they are and what they want to be. And sometimes you will feel good in that environment because you're heading to where you want to go, and sometimes the things you have created in your existence will have you feeling bad. And so it's useful then to say, how am I feeling? In this scene I'm in right now, in this now frame of my movie, what's there? And do I like it? And how do I feel about it? And as you feel good, you know you are heading to where you want to go. And as you feel bad, you know you are heading away from that. And your higher self, if you like to think of it this way, your higher self is beckoning you in the other direction. Did that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, so the only thing that connects both, I mean, instead of either this or that, they are actually the same.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Good.
I like to think of the seemingly little bits of happiness, joy, the feel good that we choose as a sort of the pathway to the expanding, without having any line drawn or any boundary or anything, but sort of the pathway to expanding into that greater joy where I begin to just live in a world, my world, filled with joy, and I no longer live in that place where I'm stepping into what's pinched off,
Absolutely.
So it's always still valid to say, does it feel good? Because as you keep putting your foot down on that path of the feel good, it just gets better. The better it gets. Go ahead, Tara.
Absolutely. You see, it is not normal. There's nothing normal about human nature. It's not normal to live in a world in which people are starving or in which people mistreat each other. It's not normal to live in a world in which people get sick and die. It's not normal to live in a world where there's famine and starvation in many places. It's not normal to live in a world in which governments are corrupt. You can't sit back and say, well, that's just human nature and we deal with it. It's not normal at all. It is just what is, perhaps in your version of the world that you've created. Certainly that is true in this one's world. But you could step into a different version of that. You can step into a world in which it is normal that everybody thrives. You can step into a world in which everybody channels, for example, as this one is doing here and now. You can step into a world in which everybody is clairvoyant. You could step into a world in which everybody is telepathic. You can step into a world in which there are magic carpets. And that is normal, if you choose to make it so. It is sane, if you choose to make it so. It is reasonable and logical. And you can step away from this, the extremity of this world you're creating, and into something more to your liking. And that would be totally normal, if you choose to make it so.
Okay. I think we're at the close of our call now, unless there are any more questions or comments. Over to you, Tara.
We have enjoyed this interaction immensely. We will come back to the central theme that we started with here, which is if you understand the degree to which you are in charge, then you will no longer ask questions about the shape of the world that you are creating. You will understand that everything that you know about the world is the only thing that is knowable about the world, because it is from that tapestry of knowledge and beliefs and certainties and probabilities and possibilities that you have constructed that forms the movie. That forms the screenplay. That forms the definition of everything that is around you. And so we cannot tell you anything about that, because that is your tapestry. And when you understand that, when you truly get that, and the power that is in your hands, in the palm of your hands, you understand the power that you have, then you will begin to see how it is that you can move mountains, and you can step into any version of this movie that you like. And the fun of it all is in creating that. The fun of it all is in creating new things. The greatest joy you can have is in conscious creation. And it is all yours to play with. It is your sandpit. It is your movie. And we encourage you to play in it and enjoy in it and create in it. And of course, if you have questions about how you might do that better, or about the fundamental nature of everything, we are here and eager to answer them. And as we said, we have enjoyed that interaction, this interaction with you, this intersection with you, with great joy. We have enjoyed this immensely, and we look forward to our future interactions. And for now, we are complete.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I start to see our sessions as play therapy.
Play therapy. Good. Okay. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.